Hi, everyone. It's our pleasure to welcome you for the second session of the Social Innovation and Global Ethics Forum. We just finished an absolutely inspiring session with three empowered change makers. Women empowerment was in the CGF for the first session, and I recommend you to watch the replay when the session is over. Today. And we are now starting the second plenary session with four change makers, innovators, people that are dedicated to thinking the world of tomorrow and making it in motion through their actions and projects. We definitely have, technology for good, because we have, I think Singapore, Japan, France, and New York joining, in addition to Monaco and Malta in that session. So that's just absolutely stunning. So let's go. I invite all of you, in the audience to look at the biography of all our inspiring speakers, because that session is going to be very dynamic. So I will start first with Ryan. Ryan, you are, first of all, we met years ago in CGF, Singapore. That was a great pleasure at the time. I am happy to see that you didn't give up. You continue, on your journey to bring, innovation for good. So first of all, Ryan, where is coming from your inspiration? Why did you choose this path to put yourself on thinking how to, combat climate change, how to promote, sustainability, how to encourage, the sustainability development goals, and how you want, this is the name of the plenary session, technology for saving the planet, innovation for saving the planet. Where does it come from in your life and for you?
Thanks, Jonathan. It's wonderful to be here. Really appreciate the invitation. It's a fantastic opportunity to join so many change makers and forward-looking thinkers. So I really appreciate tapping me for the opportunity to share some comments today. My own journey is immaterial ultimately because I've become part of a much larger population of people, thankfully, but it does owe a debt of gratitude to a couple of really key mentors who I began to work with out of my PhD study in climate change and in climate policy, Dan Masmanian, and then Jerry George at the Singapore Management University, and Professor Simon Schilbeeks. I got the best postdoc anybody ever got. I got to come to Southeast Asia, run around the region, and look at the neatest innovations in the convergence ecosystem and platform architectures for sustainable resource management for 2 years. And they paid me to do this. And just run around the region and look at fantastic teams working with technologies in blockchain and remote sensing, in platform architectures, all over Southeast Asia, in Myanmar and Indonesia, and in China, and write business cases for SMU Case Library and for Harvard University. So it was a really neat 2 years of applied study, and it showed me how hard it is for communities at the forefront of climate change, particularly coastal communities, low-income coastal communities in Southeast Asia, to access climate funding. Funding for doing regenerative land use, for doing mangrove conservation, mangrove restoration, and work in ocean health more broadly. So that work directly inspired me to partner up with Simon, create our first nonprofit, the Global Mangrove Trust, and then our social enterprise, Handprint, to create decentralized funding solutions for sustainable development activities on the ground.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you very much for sharing your insight. I am turning myself to, I will call you, Masa, my friend, I will call you the spaceman. You're the spaceman of Japan, okay? You are the one to represent the Japanese government. It's a privilege to have you with us today. But you are the spaceman, Masa. I'm sorry to say. So
yeah, it sounds good, right?
Where did it start? How did you became, such a moving force for encouraging the partnership of space and supportive space as, a potential bridge for diplomacy and progress for Japan and for the world?
Yeah, thank you for the kind introduction. So my name is Masa Ishida, President and CEO of Space Tide Foundation. We are a non-profit organization focusing on the development of the space industry. So taking a neutral position, we cooperate with a wide range of organizations and individuals and perform cross-industry activities. We host one of the largest space business conference called the Space Tide Conference since 2015. So that's activity. And on top of that, I've been contributing to the policy making in the Japanese government through various governmental committees. So regarding the space industry, I think most of you are not familiar with the space industry, right? So I think I have a question for all of you. So what do you imagine when you hear space? I think some of you may think of a variety of stars and constellations or SF movies like Star Wars or Star Trek. Personally, I love the Star Wars, but most of you think of space as an area of governmental activities, right? But the space industry is undergoing a major transformation. A variety of large corporations and space startups are stepping into the various space business segment at the accelerated pace recently. And I think the space industry can be an alternative solution to solve a socio-economic issue facing humanity, because I think there are two approaches. So first approach is to fully utilize the space to solve socio-economic challenge on Earth. Various industry companies and various countries see satellite technology as an enabler to create a lot of different types of value in the digital age. So such as smartification, automations, ubiquitous connectivities, or geointelligence, something like that. Industry trend as Industry 4.0, IoT, or digital transformations are accelerating the utilization of satellite. And I think the other approach is to explore space to sustain a dynamic civilization of growth and change. You know, so for example, the humanity's energy consumption has been increasingly at more than 2% per year over the past 50 years. So if the energy consumption will increase at this rate, in the near future, we have to cover entire of the surface of the Earth in solar cell. It's a real energy crisis. So I think humanity should explore space to save the planet. So becoming a spacefaring civilization may save the blue Earth in the future. So, but I would say with the increased number of the stakeholders, it has become more difficult to build an international framework in the space industry. So I think a variety of stakeholders should have to act harmoniously each other to achieve the progress for the industry. So the global community should invest more space industry to solve socio-economic challenges on the Earth.
Masa, thank you for what you share with us. Exploring space might be a way to find the solution to save our planet. I keep that, as well for the concluding remark. And I join now with Nicolas. Nicolas, you are creating, like a portfolio of social impact projects. You could have done, many other things. You could have put your talent in many other type of industries, but no, you choose, social impact. You choose, to dedicate talent to bring forward projects that are, solving concrete challenges on the daily life, and that is the way. That is the way to build sustainability, not just as a tag, but as a reality in our societies. So where did it come from, Sir Nicolas? Where does it started?
First of all, thank you very much, Jonathan, to invite me for this speak. And nice to meet all the other participants. I'm Nicholas Kulakowski, president of SID, SID for Sustainable Innovation and Development. We are an accelerator of positive impact project focused on clean tech, healthcare, and digital for good, and all the tech words with for good at the end. And for me, my personal triggering it was when I worked in as you know, in several sectors: real estate, finance, business development. And at the moment, I said to myself, where is the sense? Where is the positive impact day to day in my day-to-day activities? And one day I discovered blue economy. The blue economy is an economic theory developed by Gunther Pauli, an entrepreneur from Belgium. And it's based on three principles. The first one is nature can inspire us to innovate. So it's called biomimetism or biomimicry. The second one is the fact that waste has value. The waste has a value, but the problem is today in companies, waste is a cost, and it can be an added value. The third one is the fact that we can exploit local resources locally. And for me, at this moment, it was the perfect link between ecology and economy. We can bring job creation, social value, purchasing power in being environmental friendly. So when I discovered that the both can work together, I decided to dedicate all my time and all my energy to bring and to, I believe that massive funding of this climate change solution is necessary. And I dedicate all my time and all my energy to this. So we are partner. We have shares in almost 30 companies for today. And I think we have one problem one issue to resolve, but maybe we can talk about it together after, is the fact that the impact of positive impact project is not evaluated at all. So I will talk about one company called SmartBee. We use blockchain to make a new type of financing called future impact-based financing. But maybe we can talk about it together after that.
Thank you, Nicolas. I like very much your statement on impact projects have not the value they deserve in terms of priority. I think this is very key and very important. Dimitri, thank you for joining us. Dimitri is and was at the forefront of the fight versus COVID in New York and the United States. He's an innovator in the field of health and medicine. He is a source of inspiration for many people around the world based on his surgery and actions. Dimitri, but you don't want to stop here. You want to bring it more further in innovation for good. Why? Where does it started, and where do you want to go?
Well, good morning, everybody. It's good. It's early morning in New York, so or good evening wherever you are. Very interesting on this panel. We have space high up. We have climate maybe a little bit lower, and I'm just going to bring you a little bit more down to earth, where this is where I navigate my world. So it's just about me very quickly. I'm a surgical oncologist, and I specialize in advanced cancer surgeries and liver transplantation. And I work in New York City in one of the big hospitals, and we do from small stuff to a lot of crazy stuff. And but what we do is we try to save one patient at a time. And so basically, it's one person versus what all of you do. You are creating a very big impact on a lot of people at the same time. So the thinking started, how do you, while you're trained and you have the skill set to help one person, how can you expand that skill set to help many all at once? And I think this comes from technological advances, and these are extremely necessary right now because, as you all know, the population on Earth is growing very, very rapidly, but only a small fraction of the population of Earth has access to very good quality of care. So the work that is in front of us, and it's tremendous because the population growth rate is absolutely incredible, but the resources and the amount of expenditure that most of the countries are putting aside for healthcare development and advancement are quite minimal comparing to, let's say, military budgets. So unless we do something very quickly, we will be facing a very significant global health crisis. And the recent epidemic and the epidemics that go on in other continents where media doesn't really care about so much and doesn't pay attention to it, all that shows that the human race right now is not prepared to handle anything major. And the COVID experience clearly shows that we've lost millions of people despite all this technology. So in my mind, we really need to focus on not just technological advances of one person health, but on technological advances, how this technology that we use today, well, let's say in my specialty in surgery, can help many people all at once. And I think there's going to be a little bit more time later. I'll show a couple of slides talking about two different aspects of technology, how this could be extremely helpful and quite primitive and simple in many ways to help many people around the globe. So just to give you a simple, like a little highlight, right now using 5G internet, we're able to have a surgeon in one portion of the world while the surgery will be performed all across the globe. So as the technology becomes more affordable, more streamlined, perhaps it's not going to be more about the workforce in healthcare, but in order to improve the access to the quality of care, it will be a more technological advances that will give that access to people, because they will be able to meet the machine, meet artificial intelligence, and yet that will still be controlled and manipulated by someone who is highly skilled and might be located in a completely different part of the planet. So, and we'll talk a little more, I guess, on as the panel goes on.
Exactly, Dimitri. Well, you are really like kind of the one that are really thinking the future of medicine and how, like medicine can be at the service of people. And it is good as well because Masa is with us today from Japan. It is good to mention that you were with us in 2019 in Tokyo for CGF Tokyo. So you are, like over the years, an advocate and a source of inspiration in that aspect. If I go back now to Ryan, Ryan, could you share what's happening now in your agenda, in your priorities? What's concretely happening in your sphere to make impact a reality around you?
Sure. So the space in which I work at Handprint, where I have the pleasure of working with a growing team now of about 30, 35 change makers and engineers, is related very closely to creating technology solutions for driving change and acceleration of investment in the regenerative economy. So we know that for a long time, corporate sustainability has focused on reducing negative impacts. What we see over the last, say, 5 years is a rising awareness that regeneration of natural capital stock and social capital stock in and of itself is a very legitimate and empowering goal for corporate leaders to rally talent to their organizations, to rally stakeholders and customers to their organizations, and to drive more vibrant innovation within their firms. So we feel very much part of that movement to support a shift in goal setting within the economy towards regeneration as the goal, and regeneration being the growing of positive impact, or epinonius handprint. Because we know creating regenerative businesses is oftentimes easier said than done. At Handprint, we join many other companies and innovators globally, we're not alone in this, in creating cutting edge technology to make regeneration simple for every business. So to make that a little bit more concrete, our team is working to make it easy and profitable for companies to drive change in the real world, to create resource flows out of corporations and out of points of sale to impact partners on the ground in a very efficient and transparent manner by transforming digital business actions into real world sustainability impacts. So we hope with this to drive investments to developing nations. We see that already in our first year and a half of operations, to move resources to adaptation conditions like coastal zones and areas where civil society is under threat from rising socioeconomic and socio-environmental stress. So in the suburbs of Nairobi, in Phnom Penh in Cambodia, conditions where the most vulnerable members of society oftentimes find their rights infringed upon, oftentimes women and girls find themselves without access to basic care and essential security and resources, and an opportunity to create peer-to-peer connections between the impact organizations working on the ground to support those populations and a global donor base via pretty seamless technology platforms provides an opportunity to really move the needle and to help people in their day-to-day lives. So Handprint materially is working on 3 solutions. We're building systems for peer-to-peer transparency in applied philanthropy, principally in ocean health and social justice and in climate action. So this is done through the second activity, which is creation of software for accelerating firm-level transformations to become part of the regenerative economy by mapping business actions with micro donations to impact partners in the field. And we find that what this does is it lowers the barrier to entry for impact organizations, particularly at the long tail of the impact space, for those organizations to now be able to achieve access to a global donor base of households, of customers, of corporate leaders, of HR departments, and of marketing departments who are interested in moving their own experience from one of a consumer or producer in the economy to being a regenerator within the economy. So that puts us up into a space where we're very regularly working with some very key challenges, and some of these are old. We still face situations of working with free riding and working with greenwashing and working with that process of bringing leaders and decision makers to a space where they're willing to make those initial investments in at least learning that the shift to become regenerative does have a positive payback. So what I mean to say there is that we still face a little bit of a culture of uncertainty and of fear on the part of a lot of leaders, and that's not just in the West, but also very much here in Asia, where leaders are still very nervous to consider philanthropy as a legitimate business activity. So some of our work is in educating and helping leaders understand that by becoming part of a regenerative economy and changing the way that their businesses work so that they thrive as their impact partners thrive, as their business thrives, so too does their handprint grow. And that generates material economic rewards in the marketplace. That education activity has proven to be really important and thankfully quite welcome. The other thing that we continue to face in my work in my nonprofit at Global Mangrove Trust is in appreciating climate action writ large and appreciating the challenge of stabilizing the global climate at around 1.5 or 2 degrees centigrade, we still face significant concentrations of power in governments and across governments that continue to lead to choices that perpetuate a high carbon economy and high carbon investments. So when you look at the narratives that you'll find next week at Davos, and that we actually very much seek to inform and to enrich as change makers in this generation, one might believe that we've solved this problem and that by making the economy regenerative writ large, that's enough, but it's not. We still face systemic choices and power structures that drive investment to high carbon choices. And I mean principally fossil fuel extractions. So no matter how much we work to move resources to afforestation of mangroves or conservation of high carbon ecosystems like peatlands and mangroves, we still recognize that we are not solving the disease, rather we are applying the medicine. And the problem is still very much there in the consumption of fossil fuels and the investment in the fossil fuel sector here in Southeast Asia and still in the West. So that runs everything from the military's reliance on fossil fuel energy for moving men and munitions, people and munitions, to questions about choices around future investments in energy stocks. So that's my background is in energy, and that's what I teach when I work in the university. So I do recognize that we still have a long way to go on the policy front. We are working very hard in the market to help economies become regenerative, but that's only half the challenge. So we still want to encourage everyone here in the policy community to work hard and face up to those power sectors that will continue to put us back.
Thank you, Ryan, and very concrete steps. And I recommend again our audience to look at our speakers bio and go on the website, of their initiatives to learn more and engage with them directly. I will introduce briefly, Jessica. Jessica is from our team, the coordination person for all, the speakers. Jessica will share, some, audience questions to our speakers, at the end of the session. So she's listening to you carefully, and we'll have a round of Q&A just after, that round of questions where we are in. Thank you, Jessica, for being with us. Massa, we spoke, preparing, the conference about, how you see space and the actions develop, within Japan and beyond, through your different initiatives as a potential, catalyst for betterment of diplomacy, and so preserving Earth, preserving, our societies, while we see that geopolitically speaking, there are more and more tensions around the world. No need to mention them. They are everywhere and broadcast, on TV channels. But so we see that there is not only now the challenge of, the preservation of the planet Earth based on our way of living, but at the same time, the geopolitical aspect that is adding an extra layer of risk. So how our space and how your initiative could be, a promoter of peace and diplomacy. I think you have, some slides that you want maybe to share with us. It will be our pleasure to listen to you for that part.
Yeah, thanks for the great questions. Yeah, it's a good question. So, okay, so in the millions of years of human history, so our economic activities began on the ground first, and then expanded to the sea in 16th century and to the sky in 20th century. Now, space is considered as a next frontier. So, as I said, space industry is full of many possibilities and is expected to grow at a high rate. And also, space can be an alternative solution to solve socio-economic issues faced with humanity. So, in this context, So about a variety of countries are stepping into the space industry. So so space nations like the US, Europe, and Japan accelerate the space industry development. For example, the US is taking an industry-driven approach, while the China is taking a military civil fusion approach. I think the Europe is taking a cooperative approach. On the other hand, Japan is taking a inclusive growth approach. So I think there's no right answer for the growth scenarios for the future. However, space industry development is a priority initiative for each country. In addition, space, more than just developed countries, new countries are entering the space industry, so influenced by different factors with entirely different goals from country to country. So over the past decade, more than 25 countries have established their own national space agency. So as of today, more than 60 countries have their own space agency. So with the increased number of space nations, it has become more difficult to build a common understanding of the current state of affairs. But I think the global community, international community should have to act harmoniously each other to achieve the progress for the industry. So to realize the full potential of the space industry, I think the partnership will be extremely important in the future. And we can see three types of partnerships. So first is, as I said, the international partnership. So the government around the world should develop the consistent framework of international agreement and domestic law for the sustainable growth of the space industry. And the second partnership is public-private partnership. So role of the government should evolve as the commercial space activities gain momentum. So historically, government led all aspects of space development. However, as the commercial space gain momentum, government should foster the environment for the space activities in the private sector. And the third partnership is, I think, the most important partnership is a partnership with tertiary industries. So there's a limit what the space industry can do on its own. So through the partnership with the tertiary industries, space industry can make a larger impact on society. Yeah, as I said, a variety of companies see space technology as an enabler to create a lot of different types of value. So the partnership with the terrestrial industry will be extremely important for the sustainable growth of the space industry. So yeah, I would say these three types of partnership will be extremely important in the future for the growth of the space industry, as well as the growth of the humanity in the future.
Thank you, Massa. Great pleasure to see how important the space could play a role. And I just want to share a light in the metaverse for social good that OU is launching. We have a special district, spatial area, which is dedicated to space and universe. And of course, Massa, I look forward, involving you in that aspect as all our different panelists in their respective fields. So thank you, Massa, for being, pioneer on those aspects. Dimitri, so could you share with us what's happening now? What's your current, revolutionizing, project, and how it can benefit, people? You observe many aspects, many things. You are like kind of what I call, a modern philosopher, of altruism and humanistic approach. That's how I see you, not just a scientific, but kind of a philosopher. So what is, the agenda of what you do, and how can it be maybe a trigger for other, like aspects in terms of creating value, but as well bringing social impact in people's life.
Thank you, Jonathan. So, I was listening to other panelists, and just to maybe angle a little bit in the direction where everyone was going, we have to understand that healthcare, it's very important, obviously, for access, for well-being of a human, for saving lives, and so on and so forth. But we shouldn't forget that healthcare today creates a massive environmental impact. Perfect example is masks. Millions, billions of masks have been used during the pandemic and are being used today right now. And no matter how active we are in trying to properly control the disposal of the masks, and it's still human nature to throw them away everywhere, which pollutes the streets, it pollutes oceans, it pollutes waterways, and it could be a perfect medium for bacterial and viral growth itself, the mask, because the matrix of the masks can easily absorb some of the bacteria. So all these things create a massive impact on overall on the planet. So this is one of the solutions that needs to be developed. And I'm not talking about just the masks. Daily, and I'm going to show you a couple of slides in a second, we use hundreds, sometimes thousands of various products that are disposable. They're being thrown away, and it's a humongous problem. And no one really, some people are addressing it, but I don't think it's on the forefront of the news, and it's not on the forefront of many other discussions. But here, what I wanted to show is, let me share my screen real quick, and I wanted to talk about a couple things. Okay. Okay, can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. Sorry. Just 1 second. This thing. Oh, okay, good. Oh my God. Okay, so let's see. You can't see it now, right? Still. Let's try again.
Let's try again. Otherwise, you can send it, to Jessica, and maybe she'll try to pass it down.
Have to restart the Chrome, which will.
Okay.
No, we won't do it. That's fine. So what I wanted to talk about is how the technology changed the life of medicine. And if you look at the 18th century or 19th century operating room, you will see a picture of 3 or 4 bearded individuals with rolled up sleeves, without masks, without head covering, and the nurse next to them in a huge amphitheater with a lot of spectators. From there, we evolved to something that I'm sure most of you have seen on the news, on television, the new robotic systems that we now use routinely. But what's interesting is even in the robotics, the development of the technology is so fast. I was going to share 2 slides. It's unfortunate that it didn't work, but one was the title slide for the conference that we did in Japan in 2019. And it had a picture of the robotic surgery. And since then, it's only 3 years later, the technology has changed completely. And that picture looks so old and so archaic and just kind of vintage to me at this point. And it's only 3 or 4 years old. So we're marching. And now, as I said earlier, with the 5G internet access, we're able to control anything, any machine over the internet, as long as we have the stable connection. all around the globe and in real time, which is something that was until today was a limiting factor. So now we can collaborate on any surgical project like in my specialty, and we do this all the time. We recently had a difficult patient in Israel, and Israeli colleagues reached out to our group of people for an advice, and more than 40 surgeons immediately responded, and we were able to see everything live, the development of surgery, and have a collegial decision regarding a highly complex procedure and extremely difficult case where reality is that probably nobody had a tremendous experience, but collectively, when we were working together over this internet system, 50 people, each one of us had a little bit of experience, and together cumulatively, we had a significant one, and that resulted in a very good outcome on the patient later on. So that is an absolutely incredible march of technology that will play a tremendous role in some of the less developed places around the world as the technology cost comes down. So the acquisition of the machinery becomes no longer a problem. Now, the second portion of the technological aspect, it's not just buying, I'll use an aviation example. If you buy a new Boeing on Airbus and you don't know how to fly it, it's not going to help you. But just like there is a global shortage of pilots right now, I don't know if you've seen that on the news, there's a global shortage of nurses and global shortage of doctors. And doctors shortage could be easily resolved with this technological advancement where anybody can control the machine and the apparatus from around the world and perform surgery sitting in New York at the desk while the patient will be somewhere in another portion of the planet. But shifting from there, technology is all machinery. And the machines, by definition, don't have any emotions. So the machine cannot understand the issue and the dilemma of the patient's decision about the end of life. The machine cannot understand the patient's concept of dignity and overall comfort. The machine doesn't know it because the machine has zero feelings. And that's where either the doctors or mostly the nurses have to be placed in between, because you still need that important human contact. Talking about the super advanced technological things, everybody's fascinated by what we see today in every aspect of life. But sometimes we shouldn't forget about some simple solutions that could create a massive impact, not only on the patient, on the family, and on the environment. And I'll give you an example of something that we developed here in New York, and we obtained a patent on this product. It's unfortunate I can't show it, but every time somebody goes into the operating room and undergoes a major surgical procedure, the surgical drains are placed. And those drains are just the simple silicone tubes that haven't changed in, I don't know, 100 years. There's nothing new about it. Every time we do these fancy surgeries with the robot, and yet we still insert that basic silicone pipe into the abdomen, to the chest, leg, or whatever. And so what happens is that as the body moves and the tissues of the skin and the abdomen and the chest are soft, the channel around the drain becomes bigger than the drain. So what happens is that the fluid that we're draining from the chest or the abdomen starts leaking around the drain. And why am I talking about these super precise things? Well, guess what? Those leaks go into the bed. Those leaks go on the clothing. And that requires constant changes of dressings, which all these dressings is pollution. And some of these dressings have to be changed every hour. And then changing the gowns and the bed sheets. And a hospital budget on laundry is about 5% of their annual expenditure. So if you think about the healthcare system where I practice, which has 27 hospitals, our annual budget is $9 billion. So if 5% of that goes into the laundry expenditure, do you realize what the environmental impact on loss of water, use of detergent, and essentially strict killing of the environment we do just to clean these gowns and sheets? And then separately, again, we perform this fancy operation, but when this drain is leaking and the nasty fluid is pouring outside the drain on the skin, it smells, and the patient is really uncomfortable because it irritates the skin, it causes infection, and most importantly, the patient himself and the family have a perception of poor quality of care. So now, how do you solve this problem, right? It's pretty complex. So we've created a simple solution. It's a bag with a sequence of valves and a seal that goes around the drain and on the patient's skin and captures all the fluid that's leaking around and goes into the bag. It's a very simple solution with minimal cost. And if you think that way, then you switch from helping one person to helping many people. And by creating this device, we're able to achieve a quality and cost in such a way that any country, regardless of their level of expenditure on healthcare exists, can afford to have that. And if you imagine how many surgeries are done a year, and the global drain market is $3.5 billion in sales when each individual drain costs $5 to $8, you can only imagine the number of surgeries are being done. And they're going to be increasing every year because more and more people around the world have access to the quality of care because, you know, a lot of countries develop new hospitals and purchase new equipment, and a lot of people getting operations which in the past they couldn't. So a simple, not electronic, not super sophisticated in terms of its engineering design, simple, elegant solution can create a very significant impact on the patients, on the quality of care, on the perception of quality of care, and on the environment by saving water, saving detergent, and redirecting this cost to other portions of the healthcare where you can actually buy more equipment or better drugs or things like that that could be used on the patient. Well, thank you.
Dimitris, thank you so much for bringing us, from the challenge, the pandemic is bringing us, with the mask and all what will be, happening in recycling and disposing of them. And trust me, this is a problem that we see in our daily lives because we see them, everywhere, unfortunately. So first of all, we have a responsibility as human beings, to, in our daily actions, to try to adopt the right way and the right behavior. This is number one. This is the best deterrence of nonsense happening and worsening the situation. And thank you for as well bringing, innovation in terms of what can be, making a betterment for people, but at the same time, having, a social impact and society impact with an innovation which is, as you say, is simple, but is paramount. Now I go back to Nicolas. Nicolas, you have many projects, and I think you want to share with us some of the concrete solution and project, maybe sharing some slides with us. So we are listening to you.
I can share it now. Up. You see my screen? Do you see my screen?
Yes, it's happening. It's happening. I think it's... Yes, okay. Yes, perfect.
Great. I'm the wrong present. Yeah. First of all, there is a problem is the short-term mentality of investors. deep tech, clean tech, or more risky or riskier than SaaS or marketplace platform. It's not at all our mindset. We are long-term partners. We have shares in each company we support, and we are aboard with them. For us, positive impact and bring concrete and viable solution for ecological transition take time. It's not like digital marketplace, SaaS platform, and exponential growth. I hear it almost every day from investment fund, from business angel. So it's not our mindset to have revenue in the next months. We have to take our time to develop innovation and to be sure that this innovation is viable and sustainable. We believe in sustainable growth on the long term. I think it's very, very important to begin. And unfortunately, there is no mention of early stage, of positive impact, or breakthrough innovation and long-term growth. And we are focused on the problem of each entrepreneur. He's alone with his own innovation and years of research. It's difficult to finance it, disruptive innovation, new industries, new markets, even on breakthrough innovation than low-tech innovation. Today, investors only want digital. And we are, in French, I call it not sexy project. We are on industrial project with waste management and water assessment, water evaluation and treatment. So it's not really sexy for investment fund. And long processes, there's short-term needs in financing. And in Europe, we have problem of scattered networks of investors. So I will talk about on some project we are working on with Seed. But first of all, we have Azuvia. His mission is an industrial water treatment with phytoremediation, so treatment thanks to a plant. It's a patented solution, and they are growing well. They raised almost 800,000 euros at the end of 2021. The second one is Procop Medicals. The company developed a new generation of artificial earth, more ergonomic than its competitor and adaptable to body of young adults and women. It's one of my favorite projects because for me it's an impressive project, and this year we will have the first prototype of this earth. The third one is Cantia. Its mission to offer hot water at lower cost and for as many people as possible. This project was primed in Las Vegas at CES in 2017 and 2021. And thanks to this company, we have low consumption of energy and water. And the third one, SmartBee. SmartBee can have and can develop a real valuation of impact data through blockchain, and SmartBee can bring financing, future impact financing to project breakthrough innovation in renewable energy, in medical and healthcare, and maybe, for example, you have photovoltaic plants as a project, and SmartBee can make a future impact assessment in order to bring financing to this project to be realized. To finish, we have four main topics at this time in Seed. Is the fact that we would like to take investors, all the typologies of investors with us. I can close the window. And we almost found 4 solutions. The first one is to create a positive impact business angel network We have many business angel network in Europe, but not enough focused on positive impact. So we already have it, and we are part of IBAN, European Business Angel Network, and we will enter in the impact section of this network. A crowdfunding platform for small investors, a private equity fund for institutional investors, and to finance Series A and B of our project. And the last one, maybe my favorite, is to use Smart B platform to finance our project, because we aim to support almost 200 projects in 2026. So we have to find all the solutions in our hands to finance them. So our project with Smart B is to raise maybe a classic fund or an STO fundraising with token and cryptocurrency, and use it as collateral and to work as a debt fund to fund our project in making a future impact assessment to give more guarantees to our investors. The real problem is the fact that investors don't like yet our project because they are too risky. And when we can make an assessment of the future impact, we can give them a guarantee to receive carbon credit, to receive a renewable energy certificate, for example. So that's why it's with this 4-way we would like to maybe reach our the financing of 200 projects in 2026.
Thank you, Nicolas. And what I like very much in the way you approach it is you include for every project the relevant SDGs. You are integrating as well, like the IP and that's quite important. And as well, what is paramount as well is, coming from a financial background, when we build a portfolio of investment in plain vanilla, traditional investment, we diversify. This is the first rule of common sense, and we should have as well, like vehicles which enable to have a diversification and mutualization of risk inside, like social impact projects. So I highly, value your statement, Nicolas, and I look forward, the next steps of it. I turn myself to Jessica. Jessica, so what are the questions we are getting for our panelists? And please, because we are already, reaching 1 hour session, a 1 minute answer maximum, question answer, 1 minute maximum, and then we go for the round of conclusion.
Thank you very much, Jonathan, and congratulations to all of you for sharing. It's a very interesting point of view that you all have in each of your area. And I will have maybe 2 questions for Ryan about blockchain and the impact of blockchain and the concept and the hope that we place on the blockchain, in particular to limit the risk of an economy that does not really consider climate and sustainability issues as a priority. I mean, in practice, do you really believe in that concept that maybe blockchain will help to sustain and maybe to face this failure?
I think it has a very important role. I liked something I saw when you were referring to some of your work, Nicolas. One of your slides was referring to you using a low energy intensive chain. It was in this case of Smart B. That's critical. We fundamentally need to understand that Bitcoin is an energy hog, and moving to low carbon energy solves one critical problem at the beginning of that whole thesis that we can employ digital solutions to save the planet. We must decarbonize our energy stock more rapidly if we're going to entertain any thesis in which digital technologies are going to really move the needle. That said, I think for us and for many of the younger change makers that I have the privilege to work with, the core theory of change, or one articulation of that core theory, runs something like this. Blockchain and decentralized ledgers, public ledgers writ large, facilitate decentralized communication, decentralized decision-making logics in the form of smart contracts and decentralized applications. But it really is the fact that the public ledgers open the information space to decentralized considerations. That is profoundly promising for driving transparency across the economy. And thus, it's profoundly promising for creating a race to the top when we talk about solving greenwashing and rewarding firms that really put their money where their mouth is and make material leadership choices. So I'm still very, very bullish on the power of public ledgers to drive change. And I think it really is such that it does that through decentralized decision-making and increasing transparency, decentralizing knowledge hubs and authorities, and enabling collective consciousness and collective intelligence to make better choices about allocating resources and allocating power in the economy.
Thank you, Ryan. And Jessica, another question for Masa, I think. You're on mute. Jessica, you're on mute. Yes.
Yeah, muted.
Thank you very much. Masa, it was you make me fly away, outside the planet. So thank you very much. I really felt me, I was completely in another world. But still, I have a question, because according to you, and hearing all these, stories that each of you are sharing today, do you still have a hope to get our planet back on our feet, even if we have to anticipate an alternative on another planet eventually? But I mean, do you keep in mind like this hope that we can make a better world on our planet, which is like a beautiful planet that I suppose the whole universe can jealous a little bit,
Yeah, that's a great question. So yeah. Okay, so I believe that more and more people will go to space in the future, and some of you may go to space in the near future. But personally, I don't want to go to space. I want to live on the Earth. So, yeah, I think that. My opinion is, I would say that to save this unique blue planet, we should fully utilize the space technology to solve the socio-economic challenges on the Earth. That's my approach. So yeah, for example, as Dimitri said, so I think the space industry can contribute to the healthcare industries. Good example is the satellite communication. So because satellite communication has been a niche technology in the past, mainly utilized by the government and a limited number of industry. However, emerging companies like Elon Musk, SpaceX, Jeff Bezos, Amazon, planning to deploy the thousands of satellites to provide a high-speed and low-latency internet service from space to Earth. So I think this kind of service will transform the internet access around the globe and bridge the digital divide globally. So for example, in India, satellite communication has been utilized to promote the telemedicine and teleeducation, because India has a vast land and huge population. It's difficult to cover all of the country with a ground communication network. So satellite can play a key role to promote telemedicine and teleeducation. So I think that we should embrace the space industry. We should utilize the space to create a better future on Earth.
Thank you, Massa. Thank you, Massa, for sending people in space and staying with me on the planet Earth.
Both.
Okay, I'm joking. Jessica, you have a question for Nicolas, I guess.
Yes, Nicolas, I was very impressed by all the projects you introduced here, and I'm myself part of many actions that are provided here in the Principality of Monaco for new entrepreneurs. And we would be, I'm sure we can make connection with you and all these beautiful projects. So I will be delighted to stay in touch with you. And I have a question. As you said that investors has are have difficulties to believe because of the risk of these projects. What can you argue? What can you bring them to help them to go over this how do you say, like, reticence, and what are really the argument that you can provide?
Many investors think that we support NGOs, and they don't understand that they can earn money through our project. So we have to explain to them that they have with us to have a long-term mind, and to believe in the fact that unfortunately the ecological transition sectors will be huge in the next years. I said unfortunately because I would prefer that this sector are today the norm. But in addition, as I said earlier, the impact assessment to give them guarantees is very important. And to finish, the fact that our projects are supported by an accelerator made of entrepreneur and investor who all have between 10 and 30 years of experience. I take the example of my partner, Rudy Arnout. Is a chief economist in European Commission dedicated to innovation. Frédéric Valette, who is an entrepreneur who sold his company in 2006 in digital. So investors, when they come to us, know that we make a real process of selection of each project, and we support them on the long term and day-to-day of their issues on strategic advisory, financing, coaching. And during COVID, it was more coaching and was more psychology than strategic advisory. But more and more, we help them to believe in a bright future despite current geopolitical events and the climate emergency. And more, I think I'm lucky because I meet some investors who believe in collaboration, and I think we have to be humble in the face of the nature, because the nature can save us. And I'm lucky to meet more and more investors with this mind.
Thank you, Nicolas. And the last question for Dimitri. Dimitri, we will have 1 minute maximum to answer because we have the last round. So we are exploding, like the chart of this time and length of this session, but this is for the good cause. So okay. Jessica, go ahead.
Yes, Dimitri, thank you very much for this, Nicola. And Dimitri, I really have a question. I suppose like many people are like really wondering if how to face the risk of dehumanization, dehumanization, sorry, with the new technologies in the medical environment, even if the essential presence of human beings, will it be sufficient? And what do you think for the future? How can you convince the people to believe in this better future?
Thank you. It's a great question. Very hard to answer in 1 minute, but I think in quick, it's very important to work in two separate aspects. First is the control of the machine and control of artificial intelligence, because as it develops further and further, it could create its own decisions based on the previous decisions. And what we need to do is to impact using human controls in every step of the decision-making process. And the one thing that everybody has to understand that today, when we talk about the robots in medicine, all these robots are controlled by humans. So in reality, this is just a machine that replicates the human movements and human decisions. So that's one aspect of it. And the second thing is that it's actually interjecting and placing a human between the patient and the machine in a care environment where there is a nurse, there is a patient advocate, there is somebody who can understand human emotions, human pain, issues of human dignity, morality, and all aspects of psychosocial and environmental interaction between the human and the rest of the world, which the machine may or may not be able to do, and may or may not be able to make a proper answer. And there's plenty of examples in early studies in the 1930s and 40s when machines were taught to take care of the newborn babies, and the machine could not prioritize who needed to be fed and who needed to be changed. And as a result, it was realized that without the human interaction of morality and emotion, it's impossible to achieve the perfect care. So we need to have a symbiosis for now. I think that's the future for the immediate next 10, 15 years, maybe 25.
Thank you, Dimitri, for this very, again, philosophical, spiritual, innovation answer. I like it very much. Morality and emotions to support symbiosis in the approach of considering innovation in the field of medical, but as well, beyond that. To conclude this very deep and passionate session, I will ask each one of you in 1 or 2 sentences to share a message for the citizen of the world and our international audience. What will be your message if you had this opportunity to share it with the world in 2 sentences maximum? Thank you. Ryan.
Thank you, Jonathan. It's just a pleasure to be here. Today at Handprint, we're working hard to make it profitable and easy for companies to drive positive change outside the boundaries of the firm, to transform digital business actions into real-world impacts. With this sort of work, we're hoping to drive investments in developing contexts, in adaptation communities and conditions, in coastal zones and in disadvantaged communities all around Southeast Asia and the global tropics. We hope and we will work tirelessly to make it easy and efficient for more corporate leaders to join us in taking the key first step to driving towards the regenerative economy. And that's where we're at. Thank you, Jonathan. It's a real pleasure to be here today.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you very much. Masa, what will be your inspiring message?
It is great to discussing with all of you. So the title of the session is remembers how can high tech contribute to solve or save the planet, right? So I see. Okay. So in the space industry, we often discuss space technology itself. So we often discuss the number of satellite, number of launch, the launch cost, or something like that. But I think that we should discuss more about the value technology create. I think that's a key to accelerate the technological innovation as well as the business innovation. And it will read, that's a key. That's a key for advanced technology to contribute to the barriers or socioeconomic challenges. We should discuss more about the value technology will create in the future.
Thank you, Massa. Thank you very much. Nicolas, what will be your inspiring message for our audience?
First, I think that don't hesitate to break the code. Especially for entrepreneurs, don't hesitate to try again until their project succeed. We have to give up. We have not to give up. I believe, maybe we should believe together that it's possible to turn things around in the right direction, and it will depend on maybe the fact that we'll have in the future the same energy and the same energy and la volonté. I don't have the English word. The will to go in the same positive direction.
Thank you, Nicolas. Dimitri, you are the wisest of us. So tell us your message for the world.
I have two messages. One for the global powers. I think it's very important to really continue, because it's been started already, to weave that network of connections on the personal level in healthcare, where the sharing of expertise, knowledge, and information can be extremely useful, and most importantly, in life settings. So we transition from a simple Google search kind of thing, because that's what a lot of people do in medicine, to an ability to speak with a live expert around the globe, knowing exactly the condition, having experience, and guiding the person, whoever is treating this patient, regardless of where they are. And I think that's the real future. And that's one thing. And the second thing, I want to address all the innovators out there, medical students, PhD students, engineers, students of engineering, and just innovators. Don't focus on high tech all the time. Sometimes a very simple, low cost, and primitive solution that is based on just simple physics can create a massive environmental and healthcare impact, improve patients' conditions, improve patients' outcomes, improve patients' dignity, and improve overall quality of care. And more importantly, by doing these small little devices that are very, very simple, we can create a lot more help to nurses, which is a tremendous worldwide shortage of nursing right now. So the more tools we give to our nurses, the more patients will be properly taken care of. So innovate, design, draw.
Dimitri, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you for sharing your thoughts in this very ground to floor and to space session. Innovation, I think, has been approached from many angles, in different ways. This is the way. Thank you so much. And we continue this afternoon for two new plenaries and two keynotes. Thank you so much. CGEF 2022. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Massa. Thank you, Nicolas. Dimitri.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jessica. See you later. All the best, everyone.
Thank you.
Great work,
Thank you.
Jonathan.
Bye.
Bye.